Hey guys, so recently I watched a video about dance crazes and how they were spread through the internet. I found this video very interesting, especially the part where they would talk about the different dance crazes throughout the years. So I decided to make a video talking about the different dance crazes throughout the decades, as well as how they were spread, including dances that happened before the internet. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Our first stop is the 1920s. This saw the creation of dance clubs that played jazz music, forming a few different types of dance, which included the foxtrot, the waltz, the American tango, the breakaway, and the Charleston. The 1920s also saw the development of movies with sound, allowing for musicals to be made. Our next stop is the 1930s, in which we saw the development of dance marathons, where a couple would compete until one of the two was unable to continue. These were often only done by members of the lower class, as they were seen as an act of economic desperation. And another thing that we saw in this period was the continuation of movie musicals, as we saw big, large dance numbers done, which helped to give people a way to escape from the harsh realities of the Depression. And the third dance movement that we saw was the jitterbug, which was popularized by African Americans and required incredible strength and agility. The 1940s saw the continuation of jazz music being popularized while bringing about two new dances. The first is the rumba, which is a Cuban dance that merged African and Latin styles. It was a rather provocative dance, while we had swing, which would tend to be performed by the white middle class, and it was a sort of adaptation of the jitterbug that maintained some of the acrobatic throws while being more simplified. The 1950s saw the ushering in of a new style of music, this style being rock and roll. Rock and roll was made exceedingly more popular through television, since most Americans now had those and watched them on a regular basis. The TV shows that it was mostly seen on was The Ed Sullivan Show and The American Bandstand. And with rock and roll came a new dance move. This dance move was the mambo. It was a very esteemed Latin dance of the 50s that was a mixture of the rumba and swing. It found a home with the rock fans, and it gave the appearance of the woman being attached only by a rubber band as the couple would frantically be separating and rejoining. With the 60s came two different dance styles that varied quite greatly. In the early 60s, you had the twist. It was popularized through American Bandstand and promoted more of an individualistic style of dance, as the partners were separated and stood in one spot, moving their hips side to side and pivoting their foot. The second dance is a part of the psychedelic dances of the later 60s that started in San Francisco and were much more freeform in the style and were caused or maybe just affected by the dancer being in a drug-induced state. The 70s brought a dance that we all know and love, disco. Disco is a much more narcissistic and competitive dance than most would have seen up until that point. It erupted out of the R&B nightclubs as they introduced a relatively new thing to the scene, which was loud pre-recorded music, strobe lights, mirrors, and fog machines. This also was furthered through its development into movies such as Saturday Night Fever starring John Travolta. The 80s brought with it a whole new style of music, but it also brought a few different types of dancing with it, one of which is breakdancing, which combined acrobatics with traditional African movements that isolated different body parts. Breakdancing also was a very competitive form of dance, and it was born on the streets, but then eventually migrated into the parties and clubs. It's still one of the most athletic and competitive forms of dance today. It also brought about punk, which was an aggressive style of music and dance, which showed a dissatisfaction with traditional society, sort of the rebellious type of music and dance. And it also brought Michael Jackson's moonwalking dance, which I know many people still struggle to do today. The 90s brought with it quite a few different types of dance moves. Vogue, being the first, is a dance competition that incorporated fashion model poses while performing solo. It started in transvestite fashion shows and was made popular by Madonna. The second is country western, which was popular long before the 90s, however did not move out of rural areas and into cities until the 90s. It saw line dances that were performed by groups and offered a group discipline as well as camaraderie. And the third was hip-hop, which combined African American and Latin influences and made dance moves for both the casual dancer and a dancer with athletic prowess. It moved from the streets into theaters, TV, and even movies. The turn of the century brought quite the turn of events, as line dances became much more popular, a few being the Cupid Shuffle, Cha-Cha Slide, Wobble, and Cotton Eye Joe. However, there was also a big change, and that being the distribution of music through the internet. The internet brought about flash mobs, as people liked to create spectacles to surprise people, as well as a few dance crazes such as the Single Ladies and Crank That Soldier Boy. The 2010s saw the internet continue to gain more traction and distribute more music and dance crazes such as the Gangnam Style, Party Rock, the Dougie, Harlem Shake, and twerking. And that's just to name a few. There are a lot more, and I think even some of them were mentioned in the other video that I watched. So while dance crazes have been coming and going throughout time, the odd thing is that technology has developed through it, and I believe that technology has caused the amount and speed of dance crazes to be greatly increased, so that as technology has developed, dance crazes have become more popular and spread more thoroughly throughout the world and at a much greater pace. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I guess I'll catch you guys in the future. See ya.
How are you?
I'm Katie.
Nice to meet you, Katie. Are you the boss? Are you in charge?
I'm the owner, yes.
Who's done the longest shift so far? Is it you? Do you want to take a break?
Would you mind?